readers, this is Gabby, and today we're talking about Yellowface by R.F. Kuang. We're in a bit of a different location. I don't know how to put this. We're in a bit of a different location today. Normally we have a bit of a setup, but it's so hot. And I filmed 2 videos sitting by the sun, and I might be on the verge of passing out. So we're gonna do this here. And I'm sorry if the white washes me out. I really am. I'm trying my best. So this is actually first video in a while from me. Sorry, I took a little bit of a break because looking for new jobs, holidays, weddings to attend to. Not my wedding, but someone else's. So there's a lot going on. But I did read, and one of the books that I actually read very quickly was Yellowface by Rebecca F. Kuang, or R.F. Kuang. So if you know R.F. Kuang, she's the author of Poppy War series as well as Babel. And this has been a highly anticipated release on Book Talk, Book Twitter, BookTube spheres. And I've also been very, very excited about the possibility of this book and what it has to say. So let's start with a synopsis, and then we're gonna go through the usual categories by which I judge a book, and we're gonna talk about it. So Yellowface by R.F. Kuang is about this woman who is a writer, and when she started her career, she started at university with her friend, and she felt like both of them were on a very similar trajectory where they were rising stars with their debut novels coming out the same year, and she felt like we were 2 parallel stars. But the debut of her friend catapulted the friend to stardom, whereas the main character's debut was just like a wet blanket of it was okay, but no one really cared. So since then, her career has been stuck. No one wants to pick up her books. She doesn't have any ideas. It's not going anywhere. Whereas her friend has been catapulted to stardom, like I already said. Book deals, film deals, it's all happening for her friend. So one day she's hanging out with her friend called Athena, and Athena chokes and dies right in front of the main character. And the main character, whose name is June, decides to take Athena's unfinished manuscript, and then she proceeds to rewrite the manuscript and publish it under her own name, or actually not her own name, a racially ambiguous name of Juniper Song, because Athena is a Chinese author. Her book is about Chinese immigrants in World War I, whereas June Hayward is a white woman, but she decides to take this novel, rewrite bits of it, and publish under her own name. And that just takes her to new heights of publishing. So firstly, let's start with writing. As always, R.F. Kuang just has a really addicting, gorgeous style of writing that really gets you involved and really just takes you along. I actually think this is one of her least flowery, I don't know if that's the word to use, sophisticated, not a lot less sophisticated, but it's almost like the most straightforward novel in terms of the writing. It really feels like a person talking to you. It's meant to feel a bit more simple. It's just someone's recounting of events, so it will be a little bit more conversational in the style of writing. But R.F. Kuang never misses. It was so fast-paced, really got you going, and you really got involved and set into this world, which brings me to world building. This is set in like real world, so there's not as much world building involved, but I do think that it all flows really well. It really talks in depth about publishing and the world of Twitter outrage, and I think everything's set up really well where you really understand the characters, who they are throughout the novel. They also evolve in your mind because you learn more and more information about them. So I think all of that was really well set up, and overall the book felt very cohesive and super fast-paced. You really just wanted to keep going and keep reading. In terms of plot, I'm sorry I'm speeding through these, but I think themes is really where we have something to talk about. And the characters. In terms of plot, they didn't really I didn't know where this initial setup would take us with the book, because you really feel like obviously there's the dramatic kind of journey that every character has to go through, but this book really does go through like trials and tribulations. It ends up being a little bit of a thriller, although I feel like for most of it, it isn't. There's no like mystery or anything like that because we know what's happening. But I guess the thrill of the book is finding out when they will find out June. Will they find out June? And will she just get away with it? And also, you constantly are asked to kind of question who the protagonist is or what kind of person they are. And I think that's a very interesting approach to take. I did like the thriller elements towards the end. I think overall, the book was kind of perfect in terms of like what it wanted to say and the plot that it delivered that through. It kept me guessing. I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop. I kept waiting for June to learn a lesson, to have her comeuppance, and sometimes you even root for her a little bit to maybe not get away with it, but to be happy because you're in this person's head and you realize how insecure and miserable she is, and you want this person to, you know, just be okay, be happy, but not through means like this. So I think again, where the book shines is characters and themes. So we can talk a little bit more about those characters. So we have June Hayward, or Juniper Song, who's the main character. It's all from her perspective and we're reading from her. And something I found very interesting about her is that it's very self-critical or quite honest the way she narrates the book. I do think there's many times where she convinces herself that there's nothing wrong with what she's doing. She's the author, blah blah blah. There's a lot of self-delusion and there's a lot of that. But at the same time, there is a point where she just kind of makes bad decisions and kind of just not owns up to them, but like she just kind of makes bad decisions. She's like, this is what I'm doing. So you get a very frank look at her actions, sometimes filtered from a different lens, which I think definitely was an interesting experience, where you have this protagonist who is really trying to excuse their behavior and really trying to project or present every fact in this like ambiguous, it wasn't really my fault way. So you have to really dig deep and really think to really understand what's happening. But I think that made her interesting. We're definitely invited to sympathize with her in a couple moments, or maybe not even invited to sympathize. I think it's just natural to sympathize in terms of like, this is a human being that's miserable, insecure, maybe she can catch a break and something good can happen. But at the same time, this is a despicable individual that does so many wrong things, that has so many racist and problematic behaviors and thought patterns, and it just perpetuates a lot of terrible white feminism ideologies. So you don't want to be anywhere near that and sympathize with any of that. And I do think the book really straddled that line between making her so unlikable that you just cannot read from her perspective, because you still have to be in this head. So it has to be to an extent bearable, but it also never excuses or completely absolves her of responsibility. I think that was done really well. And I think what I'm trying to say is that I really like that this was a first person perspective, and we see how she keeps deluding herself, and that really goes through the pages, and you're sometimes tempted to be deluded right along the main character, but you have to pull yourself back and really look at this, what's not being said, what's being alluded to, and what's being kind of glossed over, because that's kind of where the truth lies. It's not always what the character is saying. So what I'm saying is don't let yourself be pulled into the orbit of the main character, because it can be tempting to believe what she's saying, but you shouldn't. And then our other main character is Athena Liu. And I say other main character, really not. I mean, Athena is this specter that looms over the main character throughout the entire novel. But really, only we get like a couple chapters with Athena alive, if even that. It's just at the very beginning. So Athena has this presence, this specter, this idea. And I really liked how complex of a person she turned out to be as well. I think I came into this thinking she's just some kind of angel, really great person, and this happened to her. And we're kind of like tempted to fall into these stereotypes or these archetypes and tells ourselves stories to make it, you know, more or less bearable, or make June more of a villain or a hero, and make Athena more of a hero. And I like how it had a very realistic portrayal of a very specific type of person that also is quite complex and is also maybe not morally sound. But does that make what June did right? There even is a line in the book that says the two wrongs don't make a right, and that's kind of basically what the book is. And I just really love that. So the characters were really nuanced, really well portrayed, really well fleshed out, and you really question yourself at every stage of who are you sympathizing with, why you're sympathizing with them, should you, are any of these narratives going through the main character's head something that you thought, and what does that say, and how does that reflect on you as well. So I overall loved how the characters were executed. Really good job. Then in terms of themes, this book is just so rich, and it's such a rich commentary. I think a lot of the things I wanted to kind of touch upon, I did touch upon when talking about characters and how complex and three-dimensional they were, and how it has this weird, is this a hero? I'm reading from this person's perspective, but maybe not, they're not the hero kind of thing, and what's justifiable. So definitely Yellowface, and also kind of the claims that diversity is kind of being too hard pushed in the industry, that people are getting special treatment. The whole concept of affirmative action is definitely really examined and looked at from, I guess, the other side of like a white person. But I don't even want to say that. It's more like what people think in their head and how they like to blame marginalized people for maybe their own shortcomings and their own inability to succeed, and how that's very toxic. I think it also really had a very hard, honest look at the publishing industry, the types of people working there, how marketing can really spin something, and how publicity and yes, spinning and angles to take, it's all so thought through, and you think that something may be organic or authentic, but really has been looked at by X many people and tweaked and perfectly set up for a book to succeed. And I really like the conversation about, how bestsellers and really stars are made, and how those are decided, and the types of toxic, like fake diversity, and I don't know what the term is for greenwash, like it's like greenwashing, but like for diversity and that kind of washing. I just think all of those were such intricately examined themes, and this book was just full of interesting perspectives. It was so well written. It was so interesting to read. I flew through this book. I couldn't put it down. I felt so on edge about the main character, her actions, how she just kept making it worse, and then also that weird masochistic feeling of you want the main character to get away with it almost, but you really don't, because she's a despicable human being. It's all really well straddled. It's all very powerful, and I found this book just exhilarating. I gave it 5 stars. I would 100% recommend, and get yourselves a gorgeous copy like mine, because mine's from Waterstones, and it has deckled edges with writing on it, so that's really cool. Yeah, overall I just love this book so much, and I will always read whatever Kuang comes up with next, because her ideas are just so fresh and so interesting and so nuanced. Overall, super interesting conversations. Pick it up, pick it for your book club, have a chat about it, because I think this book is the one to watch, which everyone already knows, so I'm not bringing some new knowledge to you. But yeah, give it a shot, check it out. I loved it. 10 out of 10 or 5 out of 5 really. Let me know, have you read Yellowface? What did you think about it? Let me know any interesting thoughts you had. I would love to discuss this book. It just got so much meat on its bones to like really get stuck into it. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you could comment, like, and subscribe, I really appreciate it. It really helps me out. That is it from me, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!